The second highest rate of death amongst youth in Oregon is suicide.
More than 1 in 5 children in Oregon live in poverty.
31% of homeless youth are children.
50% of foster children drop out of high school.
Only 1% of former foster children gain college degrees.
About 70% of youth in the juvenile justice system have mental health experiences.
Many young adults who lose community-based services when they turn 18 regain services through the correctional system.
I think there is most definitely an urgency within our system. We're currently failing to be able to meet some of our core population. We see the moment the individual hits the age of 18, a huge decrease in access of services. They just sort of disappeared.
The systems are not meant to take a global perspective of young adults and young people. Now, when I say system, you can input a lot of different things here. You can say foster care, homeless and runaway youth, mental health, recovery, addiction services. When you look at all of those slices, they're not really looking at the whole big picture of the young person.
When you look at the system in its entirety, we have to really start to own some of the issues that are wrong with it. And one of the biggest ones is longevity of an individual's life. We know that we see a decrease of around 25% in terms of the length of age for a person once they enter into the mental health system. So that's not acceptable.
We're here to change the way the system looks at this age population. 14 to 25 is a window that everyone, including the community, including systems, including families, need to start taking seriously as a time of transition. How are we getting these young people ready to turn into successful adults?
Hello, my name is David Forker. I'm 19.
Hi, my name's Chris. I'm 20 years old.
I'm Jahandra Carter, and I am 17.
Hi, I'm Amanda, and I'm 17 years old.
Hi, my name's Kira. I'm 19 years old.
I've been in the mental health and foster care system since the age of 12. Laid back, relaxed foster homes to the most secure lockdown facilities. As a result, I've grown used to depression a lot.
I grew up with an abusive mother. I got into gangs and drugs. I was in the juvenile detention system at the age of 13, and then I went to the grown man's jail, I call it.
I've never really had my dad in my life or anything. My mom always worked, so it was basically just raising myself from a young age.
Used to have to go to sleep listening to the people outside my door screaming and yelling, and because they put a whole bunch of people that all had the same sort of issues in the same building, and didn't really teach them how to handle their emotions.
I moved up here to Oregon because I didn't want that life no more. I didn't know anybody, I didn't have nothing. I was living on the streets.
I grew up with an abusive dad. I went to live with a different family because my mom couldn't support me and my brother, and then my mom decided to take me back. And when she took me back, things didn't go so well.
I got pregnant when I was 17. My son's dad wasn't exactly in the picture. When my son was 4 months old, he showed up at my house at 4 o'clock in the morning accusing me of something that was completely not true and started swinging bats. We stopped talking after that.
I was raped when I was 13 years old, and I basically raised myself because my mom wasn't around very often. I went through abusive relationships because I grew up thinking that it was okay for boys to put their hands on women because my dad did that to me and my mom.
I came here looking for support and asking if I could have a party here, and I had peers go up and out of their way to make sure that it happened. And they've helped me be able to throw my son's first birthday party, and I couldn't be more thankful.
This young person was the first teen parent that we had ever worked with at this site. There was a professional that shot her down and told her that that wasn't something that we could do, that wasn't in our budget. I stood up because that is what Youth Move is all about.
After that, I started getting into a lot of things that I shouldn't have gotten into. and I ended up losing custody of my son. Because of false information, and I ended up losing him for a month. I decided that I would step up as a parent and do what I had to do for my son, doing everything I can, and to this day, I still worry if I'm gonna get him taken away from me again, even though I know I'm doing everything I need to do for him. I got him back, and I can do it, and I can be a mom to him and support him and say that I was able to do it.
We have to help that individual that doesn't have anywhere else to turn to and give them that safe place to be a positive parent and change that person's life.
That's something that you don't always find in a lot of youth programming. Positive Youth Development talks about the fact that failure is something that youth programs try to avoid. But when these youth only have these programs to look to learn about life, and they never saw what happens when you fail, then they grow up not knowing how to fail. So at Youth Move, we celebrate failure, not embrace it. We celebrate it when it happens, and then we demonstrate how to overcome it and how to deal with it. Youth Move Oregon is an organization that was created by me for other young people like me. The truth is, my story started with the school shootings that happened in Thurston. And at the time, the shooting set off a huge amount of fear. Where was the next Kim Kinkle? They decided that they were going to do a mental health lockdown. And that put me, a young person who got in trouble a lot, and someone who struggled with mental health, right in the crosshairs of the system. Little did I know, the woman who was going to adopt me was working as a counselor. We are created almost completely around the core curriculum that my mom put together after the school shootings. That curriculum teaches young people who are going through the systems how to become leaders for themselves, and then when they've mastered that leadership, how they can be leaders in the system.
As professionals, we can have a lot of success in terms of reaching out to young adults. But at the same time, there is also nothing more empowering than having a young adult who has gone through a similar experience to be able to reach out to that person as well. That sense of sort of shared journey, shared voice, is hugely effective in not only brokering a system for that person to sort of explain where to go to access services, but just also to instill a place of hope for that person. They can look at someone else and say, there's somebody that's been in my place, and this is where they're at today.
I became an alcoholic at an early age.
I got abused by my older brother, and then him and my sister got me into drugs and drinking. When I was 7, I started smoking cigarettes.
And I seeked out for help from my peers here at Youth Move, and we started a group on Wednesdays for people who wanted to overcome their addictions.
Me and a coworker have been in recovery ourselves, and we know from our own experiences, you know, certain troubles we had being young adults trying to get clean and sober, the fact that there's not a lot of support for young adults in 12-step programs. There's a lot of stigma attached to being a young person in recovery.
The people who needed it the most, we hire those people. They're responsible peers, they're adults, but we hire them so that they can blend in and really be seen as a young person by other young people.
They're our friends. They're the people that are coming in and that we get to really relate with, more than just faces, but friends.
It's a wide variety of help. I myself had severe ADD and anxiety and PTSD, and I completely slipped through the cracks. When there's nobody that believes in you, or you don't feel like anybody believes in you, then you don't think it's possible.
I guess you can call me the original transitional age youth. There were many before me and many after me, but I grew up with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder way back when, before they even diagnosed it. They just called me hyperactive.
You know, we overcame adversity and we're here to give it back.
Sometimes it's difficult to really tell your story. My biological mother got married to an abusive man. I remember the day when I ran away. I got on my bike and got what I could in my bag and left. And this place, these bushes that I ultimately lived in, was the only warm place in my mind. And I was all alone. I realized that there was no one in the world that could help me now. And I still remember that feeling. I can tell from the youth who've experienced that from the ones that haven't.
My first experience at Youth Move was something that I had not been expecting, but it was very enlightening. I met a lot of people that had gone through some of the same things as I have, and I never realized that there were actually other people out there like me.
I came here not wanting to be open. I just wanted to come and hang out to see what it was about. I ended up speaking and relating to a lot of the young adults who come here.
There's nothing better I've ever experienced than seeing 10, 15, 20 youth getting together, sharing experiences, and learning and wanting to learn how to be a leader, how to speak better in public, how to speak back to systems.
That leadership curriculum, those skills that I learned, is what made me able to do what I do today. And to be able to see that and teach that to other young people, it's a really good feeling to see them step up and stand up for things and make change in their own lives. The same kind of change that I saw happen in mine.
It's helped me mature in a lot of different ways as a young adult, as a mom, as a student, as a friend, in every way I could possibly think of.
I can honestly say that it saved my life. I was going nowhere in my life. I was running away from all my problems, and they walked me through it, and they helped me with not only my fiance and being a good father, but to learn more about myself so I can be a much better person.
When I'm starting to go back to my old behaviors, they're right there with me, and they'll do, you know, whatever it takes to help me get back on track, because they know that's what I want in the end.
There's people out there that you can trust, and that not everyone's out there to be mean to you or like after you. You can get help.
My future is probably a lot brighter now. I have goals that I'm willing to work towards now, but I don't want everyone to just think I'm a bad person or a drug addict like I used to be.
I've met a lot of people in Youth Move that have really impacted me and who I am, and I would never take that back.
I would say if I had no involvement with Youth Move, I would still keep running from my problems, and I would most likely be back on the streets using, and just once again, just nowhere in my life, just dead basically.
We've done a lot of work at the state to be able to promote young adults in transition, but the reality is this really still is not an issue that's been picked up in the community. If you see the opportunity of serving young adults as a way of altering the long-term trajectory of your overall system, you're going to approach it with a different sense of urgency.
Statistics show that if you don't engage them with services right at the cusp of when they move from the children's side to the adult side, they kind of go underneath the water and resurface at about 35 years of age in a lot of trouble. From a monetary standpoint, realistically, they end up sucking a lot more service and a lot more money out of the system. From a human point of view, every kid deserves the chance to flourish and be able to change and do the best that they can.
The second highest cause of death for young people in this state is suicide. And that doesn't even begin to cover all of the struggles that this age population faces every day. And so we act as a bridge. We're not the therapists, We're not the residential treatment facility. Our primary reason for being here is helping these conversations between a very bureaucratic system and in a lot of cases a very vulnerable young person. And we'll have your back the entire way. And even when you're done with us, even when you've aged out or you no longer need us, we'll still be here in a matter of moments.
1, 2, 3, Youth Move!